And we are live! Yay! Welcome to the Artscast Live, guys. I'm a bit judgy tonight, so apologies in advance. Good evening, Sam. How's it going, buddy?
Good to see you, Shane. How are you?
I'm fandabby-dozy, mate. Fandabby-dozy. Oh, that's an old expression, isn't it? I've totally aged myself there.
Fandabby-dozy? Wait, Cracker Jack!
That's sort of in honour of one of our guests tonight, I suppose. I texted like Scott, so
which one of the Crankies did you identify with, Shane?
I'm saying, gives far too much away.
Jimmy Cranky?
Well, the fact that he's short.
I tell you, yeah. No, the fact that it's an older, it's a middle. You know, they were married. The day I realised that the Crankies were married blew my mind.
So today we have got two very cool guests on the show, Mr. Dave Cook and Clark Bint from the Killtopia, and the comic company is Card Shark Comics, or is it Shark Card Comics? I'm not very good.
Well, that's your first question, Shane.
We'll find that out shortly. But yeah, I mean, Killtopia, for those of you out there not aware of it, it has been an absolute hit of an indie book. It's done a storm on Kickstarter. And when you look at the page that we're going to show you, you're going to realise why.
It's some lovely art.
Absolutely beautiful artwork. It really is. So we may as well just kick up everything and get going there, Sam. So roll that VT and we'll get right into it.
I will too. Roll VT, go.
Good evening and welcome to the Icecast Live, and welcome to the Icecast, Mr. Dave Cook and Mr. Clark Bint. How you doing, guys?
You're right.
Hey, yeah, doing great. Thanks for having us.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure, guys. I mean, I was just saying to Sam before, the Killtopia books have been huge. I mean, the critically as well. All I ever hear is good things. So I was really anxious to get you guys on the show. And when I heard that there was a new book, I thought, what time? You know, this is going to be the third book in the series. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So third book, it's a 5-parter. So yeah, the fourth one's written now, and then the fifth one, I'll write it when I'm happy with it, but I keep on scrapping it and starting it again, so I need to stop doing that.
Oh yeah, that's a dangerous habit to get into, isn't it? Because otherwise you end up just not getting anything. If you can't get happy, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? Creative endeavor, you could work it forever, couldn't you? And at some point you've got to say, that's it. Does the Kickstarter sort of deadline, does that help you organise, sort of set yourself sort of goals?
Yeah, it does actually, because like we know that the third one comes out in May, so then sometime after that, of course, we'll do another Kickstarter for the fourth one. We don't know when yet, but yeah, that does sort of keep you sort of focused and keeps the momentum up a little bit. So yeah, I think it's a good goal to sort of have that in the future, sort of looming over you like a long shadow, keeping you busy.
Yeah, definitely. So, what for those who've never read Killtopia, Dave? Could you give those listening and watching a little bit of a sort of elevator pitch on and what the con is?
Yeah, certainly. So it's a cyberpunk comic series set in Neo Tokyo in the future. And it's basically about a district in Neo Tokyo that becomes infested with killer mecha, like killer robots. Rather than fix the problem, Japan goes, hey, we're going to invite all these crazy bounty hunters from all around the world with, high-tech weaponry and cool gimmicks and personas. We're going to invite them to Japan to hunt the robots for sport. And once a year, they get together, kill each other, and hunt each other for sport. But amidst all the chaos, a rookie bounty hunter called Shinji discovers the world's first sentient robot. And he's got a secret that can save the planet from something, which I won't spoil. But they form a bond, and they basically have every bounty hunter on their tail. And they have to figure out a way how to save the planet with all this chaos going on. And that's all I'll say for now.
Yeah. Wow. So this real moral dilemma in the story. You've got sort of like the sentient robots, some sort of debate going on with the characters about whether these robots deserve human rights.
Yeah, there's a lot. So I'm never going to hide the fact that there's a little bit of political stuff in the comic, but it's all about because there's a disease in Neo Tokyo that's killing everyone, and it's caused by the robots. But the robots also have the kind of cure within them. So you have this world that is very much similar to today, where the environment's kind of knackered. There's bad things happening in the world all the time, even now, of course. But to sort of distract us from that, we're all really hyped up about, new video games coming out or TV shows. And we get so hyped up by pop culture that it kind of distracts from what's happening out there in the real world. The same thing happens in Killtopia. Everyone has this big disease, but they're so fixated on this blood sport. They're buying all the merchandise from their favorite bounty hunters. They're getting so hyped up, but they're all sick, and they should start protesting for a cure or trying to figure out why is no one helping us. But it just sort of shows how pop culture can eclipse everything else and sort of keep us in little bubbles, I guess.
Yeah, I could certainly relate to that one. Because, I mean, all can't we, to a certain extent, with the pandemic is, we'll still argue over Star Wars, the big debate, what's the new trilogy any good? What's the new trilogy real Star Wars? And how I feel is that really in the big scheme of things, and yet people call each other horrible names over it. People try and cancel each other over the internet and all.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of I'd say cancel culture is actually a thing in the third book. There's a lot of stuff about that in there.
Right.
And it's not it doesn't sort of lean either way. I'm a big advocate of if you do terrible things, you should probably be taken into account to some degree for it, right? I mean, it's like a cause and effect kind of thing. But yeah, there's a lot of in the book, there's lots of fake brands. There's lots of cutaways to TV segments where there's weird TV shows and strange pop culture things happening, and it's just a sort of hyped up version of what we're seeing right now, really in the world. It's things I'm a big video gamer, and every year they have the E3 conference, and everyone's staying up till 3 a.m. to watch the Sony conference and see which big new games get revealed. And within a minute, they've got big opinions on Twitter, and they're getting so hyped up about it. And it's dude, go to sleep, go to bed. It's 3 a.m. Yeah. So, and I do that as well. So the book in no way is saying that's a bad thing. We all need it. It's therapy for us to be interested in these things. But there's a world out there. It's think a bit broader. So,
it's getting the bite, isn't it? Because, like you say, it is a good thing to sometimes be distracted and have that escape from reality. But it's just getting that balance right between having it just escapism and it becoming your life. Which it does for some people, I think.
Yeah. The more online you are, the harder it is to change that.
Yes, that is very true. I can attest to that. But we've got some comments here. I'm just going to share them. We've got Aroa Comics, evening, gents. Evening, Aroa Comics.
Mark, hello.
We've I can never say these names. I'm going to say that's actually probably Yaroslav Esmont. Tell me if I'm wrong. Do you know the guy, Dave?
Yeah, 3-time backer. So thanks for tuning in, man.
Oh, it's good back from these guys. We got Xavier, Marco Xavier, who I think is Sam's owner. He gets his comics from him. How's it going, Marco? Nice to see you again. He's a regular commenter on there. From Fabio Palvelli. Hey, Dave, I was trying to reach out to you to thank you for the t-shirt. Love it. I hope one day I can interview you for my channel and talk about your project. Oh, we got competition coming on here now. Trying to poach our guests. I don't know.
Absolutely, Fabio. Just tweet me or something. Happy to do it.
No worries, Fabio. Nice to see you. Thanks for commenting. We've got another one here. You guys are popular. Adam Lum. Hi, chaps. Glad I caught this. Looking forward to my copy of Killtopia. So the definite fan. It's nice to see you turning up, isn't it? Do you find Potter is really good for the community and the fan base and people who are reading your books?
So, like, it's interesting because a lot of I like most of these names. Like, I'm familiar with everyone. Most of the people down there, right? So it's interesting because I think you get a lot of repeat custom through Kickstarter and being at Comic Cons and social media, of course. Yeah, it's like it just gives you a direct line to your fan base, and you can just chat with them directly and get to know them, and it's really nice. Like, especially as well when. And I apologize to anyone who's ever experienced this. You've come to my table because you know me off Twitter, and I have no clue who you are by face. It's not intentional. It's just I see so many people. But it's like, hey, man. And I'm like, hey, I think I probably know you for summer, but I have no idea who you are.
But they know your
that's
whole
nice.
life. That's
that's nice, man. Yes, yeah, totally, man. It's nice, though, right? Because it's like, people taking the time to come over to your table and say hello, it's incredible to me. It blows my mind a lot, but it's true. Just it's crazy.
I get that with faces. I'm good with faces and terrible with names. So like I'll recognize people coming up to my table or just like in conventions, and I'll blank on their names completely.
Oh yeah, really sympathise with that one, Mark. I really do. Because what happens is conventions. Like they remember you because you're the only person that they're focusing on, whereas you mean 200 people that day. So Sam's showing the artwork for us here. Now, this is absolutely lovely stuff. I cannot emphasize artwork. It really is good stuff. Clark, do you do color as well?
Sorry?
Do you do the color art as well? Do you think?
No, the color is Lou Ashworth. They're the colorists. Doing a fantastic job.
Right.
I'm just the penciler and the inker. I do my own colors on like some things, but not for Killtopia.
Right. I mean, don't sell yourself short. Just the penciler and inker. I mean, that's pretty important stuff. But they are beautiful colors, actually. Because it's not easy dealing with this sort of palette. These sort of like really primary, tertiary colors with with very little sort of saturation. It's quite hard to do that and make it work. Sometimes it can come across as garish, but this is just beautiful. It really, really is. So, how did you guys get together? How did you guys get together? What's the story there? Have you known each other time?
I'll let Clark take this one because I've rambled enough.
Well, we met once in real life at Thought Bubble 2018.
Right.
I was with Matt Hardy and we were walking around. Oh shit! And sorry, pulled out my headphones then.
Star Trek. Klingons on the starboard bow.
Right, there we go. Yeah, we met then, and yeah, and then in terms of Killtopia, it was really just that like last year we were talking and sent my little submissions in, and yeah, I've been working on it since the summer.
Wow.
It's been really good.
Isn't it incredible how quickly it's come together then? I mean, because how many pages are the books? How many pages are for each volume?
They vary, but they're always quite long. They're not like a single issue, you know.
No.
It's so this one's 53 pages, I think.
Yeah, 54.
54. The previous one I think was 64.
Okay.
That whole thing just came from me was like I read a 22-page single and I flick through it like so fast. I always do like another read to like look closer at the artwork, you know, really slowly kind of digest it. But I'm a big believer of just giving like a bigger, chunkier kind of book. It's probably a bad thing because it costs me more to print them all and stuff. But it's like I don't know. It's just a personal preference, really. I like books with a spine as well.
Book. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice. Yeah. It's nice having a big book to like have on the shelf and stuff. I've only every single project I've done since Murder Most Mundane has been all like long stuff. Even with Frank at Home on the Farm, I drew it as one big thing. So I've only done this like long type of story.
Oh, we've got another comment from Marco. I'm good. I've backed the book last year and can't wait for it. Ordered the last 2 issues recently and love it. Getting some good feedback.
Thanks,
here,
Marco.
guys. What else is in there? Also, Sam, stop messing about. I can control the comments. Also, loving Frank at Home on the Farm. Tell us what he's talking about, guys. What's Frank at Home on the Farm? Educate me.
That's a comic I worked on with Jordan Thomas. Right. That's currently on with Scout Comics. Issue 2 just came out, I think. Yeah. It's a horror set in 1920s England. Kind of a psychological horror. I forgot what the pitch is. It's like Animal Farm meets David Lynch.
Wow. Well, I'm sold. You got me straight away with that one. Oh, we've got another comment. Why are these names so hard to pronounce?
Thanks, Biana. That's Biana. That's my
Biana.
friend from uni.
Thank you for saving me my embarrassment. We love Clark. You got some love there, man. Another one from Adam. Frank at Home is genius.
Thanks, Adam. Adam's a fantastic artist as well.
Yeah, I know Adam actually. Yeah, Adam exhibits at ICE. If I remember, it is the same Adam, I presume. Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you have exhibited at ICE before. So you guys, you were talking about people coming to your table. So you've done some shows. How have you found the reactions at shows to the book?
It's interesting because I've sold lots of the first 2 books based on the cover alone. So the banner behind my table is of Killtopia 1. It's a really sort of iconic kind of image based on the theatrical poster for Akira. So it's kind of an homage to that. But I've had people literally do that comical double take. They walk past the table and go, "Whoa, wait a minute, that looks like Akira." And I'm like, they're like, "Tell me about it." And I'm like, "Cool, here we go." No, it's crazy. I mean, the artwork. So the previous artist was Craig Payton. He did 1 and 2. And his art just like on the banner just like really draws people in. Yeah, it's amazing as well. Yeah, I don't know, the reaction's been good. People come back for more. We sell merch as well, and that goes. It's rare now that I don't sell out at cons. I can only carry so much with me to cons, which is annoying. But our publisher's usually at cons with us as well, so at least I can just nick some copies from their table if I need more.
We should give a mention to BHP, your blue.
Yeah, BHP Comics through in Glasgow. Really good. I mean, they were friends of mine before they approached me about Killtopia and asked if I wanted to come on board. But yeah, super nice guys, like really helpful. They've got us into, comics. So we're on Diamond now, so we've got distribution in like the US and Europe. We're localized in places like the Ukraine now, which is crazy to me. Yes, Cyberpunk's massive in Ukraine. I didn't know that until a small publisher got in touch with us and said, "Hey, we'd like to buy the rights and localize it." And I was like, "Cool." So I got some Ukrainian copies here, and it looks really cool with the font and stuff. The translation. So, it's crazy. We're now technically a global comic, which is just nuts, and BHP helped us do that. So, it's cool.
Well, that is really fantastic, because every artist and every writer, we want to get our art out there to as many people as possible, don't we? So anyone who can help us do that is, thank you.
Yeah,
definitely.
A couple more comments. Another one from Ad. Thanks, guys. Come back to ice. Wait to have you back. About Craig does do Cyberpunk so well. That's from Andrew Smith. Great beard, Andrew. Your profile picture. I just love big beards. They're ace beards like that. And I have no idea what that is. Even that's an inch.
It's one of the fake brands from Killtopia. These are the beer mats that I got made for the Kickstarter.
Oh, that's awesome. That was a great idea. Oh, good.
I mean, at this point, I need to sort of disclose that I used to work in marketing for many years, so I'm like a master of the dark arts. So I was like, hey, I need to make like a fake brand in the comics so I can put the logo on things and sell them. But for me, it's like expanding the world of the comics outside the comics into like other things, right? It's kind of like we do T-shirts and bottle openers and merch, and it's all part of the hustle,
Yeah, what a great idea. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? If people can latch on to something in the book that makes it theirs, if you like. I love those like that. That only you fans will get that. It makes you feel like, as a fan, it makes you feel like you belong to something. I mean, Marvel did it, didn't they, in the 60s? They created these little things that Marvel fans would know about and nobody would get the joke, and it's great. It makes it a lot more fun. So, what the types of brands you create with the world of Killtopia then?
So that one there, Kaiju Cola, actually is integral to the story because because we were talking about a world where like pop culture is like massive, right? Kaiju Cola just came about as a brand. We came up with like a few brands. So there's Eden, which is basically our version of Apple, like Apple of Eden.
Right. I like it.
It makes one of our characters' armors, Nero. That's just a random name. Kaiju Cola. There's a few other ones in there as well, but the villain of the second book is the corporate sponsor for Kaiju Cola. He's basically a giant mecha suit, like a Gundam, like battle suit, and he's the corporate sponsor for Kaiju Cola. But he's also one of the bounty hunters, and there's an actual human kid like fused inside him that's like being fed cola through straws, and his teeth are all rotten, and it's like he's like a child slave that was sold for the cure to the disease. So it's a comment on like people are so desperate to cure this disease that they'd sell their own children for like injections and stuff. Little did they know they were selling their kid to be this like hulking mechanized mascot of death. So it's all like
it really is like
whoa. Sorry, go on, Clark.
I was gonna say it really is like kind of a very like 2000 AD, and it's like Killtopia the way that it's written. That kind of like early 2000 AD, like early Judge Dredd, like Mega City 1. It's all very I can't know how to describe it. It's very UK sci-fi.
It's got that dystopian edge to it, hasn't it? And you get a sense of this world, very harsh, unpleasant world. Really, I always thought that with the kid, because I think it's a bit of a shock, isn't it, when you're when you're a little kid and you might be reading Marvel and DC, and then you're exposed to Dredd. It's like, whoa, comics can be really harsh. And it's quite weakening, isn't it? And I get, if the book is some teenager's first sort of delving into the first time they've delved that sort of comic, they're going to have that sensation, I think, aren't they? Because I've talked about Akira and all that, and that's obviously a very obvious. You sort of wear it on your sleeve or wear it on your banner, even. But and stuff like that, and maybe action and things like that, were also an influence on you, or is that something that hasn't really had an impact on you?
See, I'm a weirdo, right? Because I write comics, but people always say, "What comics inspire your comics?" I'll be honest, I don't read that many comics anymore, which is probably not a thing to admit on a comic cast. But for me, the big influence is video games, right? Yeah, I used to be a games journalist back in the day. I've written a game now. I'm just really into video games, like as a hobby. It's my one-time passion. So Killtopia actually was born out of. It was influenced initially by video games, specifically a game called No More Heroes, which is about assassins for hire fighting in a blood sport, and the main character is like a geeky Japanese otaku. So that was the primary influence. Also, games like Bayonetta, Devil May Cry, because you can see it in the kind of brash edge and the attitude that Killtopia has. It's quite brash, and there's a lot of trash talk and slang, and that's all derived from those kind of games. But the main comic that did influence it, and I'm kind of wary about talking about it now, was Transmetropolitan. It's a shame to talk about that now because what happened with Warren Ellis, but that was my first comic that made me think, hey, I like comics now. Because I first read it when I was studying journalism in university. Had never really read a comic before, but my flatmate had the complete collection of Transmet, and she just said, "Hey, you're doing journalism. This is a comic about journalism. Have a read." And it was like love at first sight. There's actually a lot of parallels between Killtopia and Transmetropolitan, and there's a guy cosplaying as Spider Jerusalem in it at one point. The main character,
right?
In issue 1. It's just a shame that it's hard to talk about that series now, though, because of what happened with Ellis. It's really disappointing when that happens with someone. But
yes, stuff, doesn't it? I mean, I'm a massive fan of his other book, of some of his other books. Next Wave was a huge favourite, and I think at the end of the day, you can still love the art, can't you? Even if you don't love the artist, I think sometimes you got to just come to terms with the fact that you might not be a fan of the kind of work. But if it's good, isn't it? And you still have a good memory attached to it, and you don't really want to lose that, do you?
I mean, it's some more the thing that. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, you carry on, mate.
There's a bit of lag there. No, I was just saying. Yeah, you're completely right. It's like it led me here, so it's it's all right.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has their own opinion on that, and I think sides of that argument are valid, to be honest. I think Sam shared this before, but I'll just read it. So Marco said, "We use Diamond Comics, so I can get some in the door." There you go. Go for it, Marco. It will sell really well. It's a brilliant book. So yes, please do. And thanks for sharing that, Sam. We've got another comment from Kevin Judge Drone. Awesome. Hello from VT. I don't know if you guys know Kevin, but they produced the comics in the UK, and I was a guest on Kevin's YouTube last night, and he did say to me, he did threaten me and say, "I am going to comment on every single one of your shows." So there he is. Thank you, Kevin. We've got a little bit more here. It's just our Twitch moderator, actually, John, just saying he's a big Bayonetta and DMC fan. So there you go.
Nice.
Yeah. So you're saying the games are your influence, Dave. What about you, Clark? Are you comics free, or do you come from the world of games primarily as well?
I do love games, but most of my influences come from comics themselves, and specifically I'm still super into Marvel and DC stuff, but a lot of my influences also come from underground comics, lots of Arkham and Aline Crumb too. Of course, Mobius and Frank Whiteley are some of my biggest inspirations. Keith Robinson, Raymond Pettibon, just general kind of very kind of playful kind of art.
I was going to say all those artists, they're quite different to each other, but they've all got that in common. That sort of full stylistic approach. Very, you could tell their work at a glance, can't you?
Definitely.
And that's something that.
Yeah.
Sorry,
definitely.
Carry on.
Some other artists as well, Goya and Jack Kirby and stuff, like those kind of artists where they constantly have been changing throughout their careers and stuff, and changing through like who they are. You know, it's like it's one big like kind of progress, their art and who they are together. Because I love that. Just I don't know how to describe it. I just like
that's the journey, isn't it? Going as an
it's
artist.
hard to describe art. I can draw what I mean, but I can't say what I mean.
Yeah. I totally empathise with that one. I mean, I'm an artist myself, and I think I became an artist because I wasn't very good at expressing myself through language, and I struggle with that now. So I'm probably in the wrong. I probably shouldn't be doing this because I'm not the best at describing words. But
You're doing a fine job.
But I think as an artist, you do go on a little bit of a journey, don't you? Start.
Sure.
You look, and do you find, I ask this question a lot, but do you find that it doesn't take long that you've done before to really feel like you're detached from it, like you've moved on, especially if you're doing a lot of volume of work? Because at the moment, you know, these comic strips with Dave, and with the more you produce, the more you develop. And do you find that, you know,
Definitely.
you look at it from a year ago and you think that's just not me anymore?
Certain aspects, I think I had like a kind of a big kind of ramp up like early on, where I could do more of that kind of disconnect early on, and now it's like the last couple of years, I guess I've just been more consistent with how my work looks and what comics mean to me, and how like visual storytelling means, like what that means to me, and how I want that to look in terms of who I am as an artist and what I want to put onto paper. That's really what's been developing more than the style itself. It's like the visual narrative that I'll create, and I like to try and go as like kind of playful and as big as possible. And sorry, I have to let the cat out. It's stuck in the
Hey, this is live entertainment, folks. Cats and dogs, children. They always plague us. It's interesting what Clark was saying there, actually, because I was just saying, Clark.
Right, sorry about that.
That's a really interesting thing what you're saying. That's fine, because it sounds as though you're plotting it in the book, and I would say from what from the type of work that you like to do, you've pretty much stumbled on the perfect project here with Killtopia, because it's the perfect. Your style is perfect for this sort of story. It's a good fit. Thanks. Would you agree with it, Dave? I mean, you don't have to.
No, I mean, like, no joke. Like, we kind of go back and forth on Facebook Messenger quite a lot. You know, Clark will send me like a rough, and then even sometimes the roughs, though, I'm just like, holy crap, that's good. In terms of like as well, just I've got my panel descriptions right in the script, and then I kind of have this image in my head, and it's like it's not even like exactly how I would see it in my head. It's even better sometimes. And that's what I kind of always want from like my scripts and stuff is oh my god, we definitely are live, aren't we?
Oh dear.
That's what my whole philosophy really is, just like what I do in the panel description, like definitely don't follow that exactly to the letter. It's like I think every artist I work with just puts their own spin on things and like has a laugh with it. And certainly with Craig on the old Killtopias as well, he would sneak in references to other pop culture things I wouldn't notice until like my fifth week through or something. And I love that kind of stuff, you know. So no, I mean, and with Clark as well, like Clark's great at mechanical stuff as well. So like obviously there's loads of robots and tech and stuff like that, and yeah, it's so intricate as well, you know. So yeah, I think all those things just help the pages just elevate like so far. So yeah.
We a new host.
Question, Benji.
Yeah, I'm definitely a real host and definitely
an actual question.
a random child.
Ask your question.
I am.
Come on. Benji, this is Benji. He wants to ask the question.
Do you play Spider-Man?
PS4.
Yes, on PlayStation 4, yeah.
Yeah, I love that game.
It's good.
Yeah, it is a good game.
Do you play that, Benji?
Yeah, I did. I already beat the entire game.
Oh wow, well done, Sam. You're fired. This guy's much better. That's enough for that. I do love having the control like that. We've got another comment from Leanne. I follow Clark's artwork online and love everything he does. Killtopia is a great story, beautiful to behold. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? You guys, a lot of love. One from Adam. God, Adam's loving it tonight. I found it really interesting, Dave. Came to comics writing from games. How did you find the writing of traditional narrative structure in comics compared to the scenario approach of games? That's a good question.
That is a good question. My trajectory was games journalism, comics. Now I'm writing games, so it's kind of a little bit different from there, Adam. But there is you're right. There's a definite difference because comics are page one all the way through to the end, right? It's quite a linear progression in the story. You might have like branching stories and stuff and side stories and, threads crossing over and stuff. But ultimately, yeah, it's like page one all the way through to the end. Whereas a game is like, so the game that I've written, the first one I've done, is an open world, like platformer game, like Hollow Knight, that kind of thing. It's called Unbound. I'm going to do a little plug, but it's not out until the summer. But
Go for it.
you can play a demo now on Steam. But that's a game where you can tackle tasks in different orders or any order you want. So you have to write a narrative in a way that allows for that. And that the first time I tried to comprehend that as a writing structure when I was working with the development team was like, it just made my brain rot a little bit. Because I'm like, how do I... It's like I've got this plot point here, but someone might go there and then come back. And it's like, But that's when you start to write things like a flow chart. It's all about branching paths and intersection points. And it's really complex, but it was a good challenge to sort of learn how to do that. And I think I can definitely apply it back to comics later. Certainly something like Killtopia 5, the last one, where all these threads that I've set up need to converge into an ending. Which I have struggled with a little bit because I want it to be like the best possible ending ever. But I think that might help bring it all together. But yeah, it's very different.
You've got it planned till the end with the being the look. It's very unusual actually for writers to do that in comics. It tends to be, I'm going to keep doing this until nobody wants to read it anymore. Do you think the temptation will be there, perhaps carry on if it's hugely, continue to be hugely successful, or are you determined just to tell your story and then move on to something else?
I guess I'm kind of stubborn. It was always going to be a 5-parter. And that was an arbitrary number, I'll be honest, because I just felt that would be long enough to tell my story. Of course, I'm learning now, as I said there, like that I need to try and wrap up all the stuff I've established in one more issue. Yeah. It's getting there though, but I just need to figure out how to do it. In terms of like coming back, I've already started planning out a sequel, but I can definitely tell you there will be like a many years time jump between them both. So that's like a little exclusive, I guess, for you guys because I've never.
Oh yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, that's a big one. You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. So I've already got an idea around the police force of Neo Tokyo, and I want to do something about. So I've done the sort of degenerate side of these bounty hunters who break the law and stuff. Now I want to see what the police have to deal with in that sort of future world. But so that's where my head's at. But yeah, we'll see. Depends how much energy I've got left in the tank after this, to be honest.
Yeah, you're a busy guy.
Yeah. Andrew knows.
Do any more work? Well, we do about your health, Dave, and we don't want you to overdo it. So you come first.
Thank you.
So just going back to a point that you for Clark about your and where what comics mean to you and all that sort of thing. And back a little further, how did you get into comics? What's your sort of history with the medium?
As a fan or as a nerd? I guess both.
Well, both. It tends to be both, doesn't it?
Yeah, kind of mixes together. Like my first, I guess my first intro comics was the Simpsons comics, the Bongo comics ones. No, wait,
Oh,
sorry.
yeah.
Before then, Beano and the Dandy and stuff.
Classic.
Then it was the Simpsons and stuff, and then like finding like the Ultimate Spider-Man and Ultimate X-Men runs, like various issues you'd find in Sainsbury's like back in the day, and I would collect those. And I read the whole Tomorrow People.
See, I feel like an old man now because my son loved that comic, Ultraman. He's a massive fan of it. We feel very, very old, but also nostalgic as well. Because wasn't it great? Wasn't it great that you could pick up those books in like Sainsbury's or whatever? I mean, they were so readily available back then. I suppose it would have been the late 90s, early 2000s.
Early 2000s, like around the same time the movies are coming out. I think it was around like when X-Men 2 was coming out, because that's when I first like saw Colossus in the X-Men, and I remember being super excited when I found out he was in the movie. So it's around that time, and after that was like we had a comic book shop in Oxford, because I'm from Oxford originally, or near Oxford, and we had a comic book shop called the Comic Showcase, and that was like entering my like mid-teens, really getting into comics and finding back issues, and getting all like the feel, like the smell of like those single issues, and collecting them all, and spending like way too much of my parents' money, and just like drawing everything I could from those comics as well. It was really, really great. But then a comic shop doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately.
Is it gone?
And then since then, some of it just disappeared. Like it's not enough business, I guess. And it was like 2006, 7, 8.
Wow. So many have, though, haven't they? We've lost a lot of comic shops over the years, but we've gained a few as well. So what's your retailer now then? Do you guys have local comic shops that you can go to?
There's one around here, I think. I'm in Bournemouth now, and I think in Boscombe there's one. Well, there was one last time I was here. Otherwise, most of my comics come from like I order them, or I do digital comics and stuff.
Yeah. I still can't do digital comics. I go with them. I've not evolved that far. What about you, Dave? You got a local shop that you can check out?
Yeah, there's only two now. There's Deadhead Comics, which was apparently the inspiration for that show, Black Books.
Really?
Dylan Moran worked there many years ago, or he visited it or something during the Fringe Festival, and that was the inspiration for it, apparently. That's a great little like treasure trove of comics. There's just piles and stuff. It's great. And then the Forbidden Planet, which is, although it's a big chain, the one in Edinburgh's actually got a really sort of nice kind of community vibe to it. There's a lot of events, and everyone kind of knows each other and stuff. It's cool. So we're in there as well, which is nice. They have a really good indie section. Like they kind of get that indies like need to stand out a bit more. So there's a whole big section which is quite clear, which is really nice. So those guys get it, which is cool. But that's it, really. I mean, we lost one or two actually over the years, and it's just a shame, isn't it? But it's in the new world, of lockdown and stuff. I just buy stuff off Amazon at the moment, but.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have turned to that, haven't they? Sorry, go on, Clark.
I was going to say, I lived in Mallorca for a couple of years, and they had some comic book shops. There's some pretty decent ones there. There were like 3 big ones around Palma, like around the center. And there was one called Metropolis Comics, and across the city was Gotham Comics, and then there was like Norma Comics, which is like, I think it's Catalan. I'm not sure. Like there's a lot of like Spanish books and Italian books and French books. It's amazing, just so much Mobius that I've never seen that much before, because obviously we don't really get them in English shops. And then you can get like Blueberry and Artzac and everything. It's amazing.
We are deprived. We are deprived of European comics in this country. We don't get enough of them. I know, learning other languages or reading other languages. Not everything gets translated, but the richness from every time I go over, I like to pick up some stuff, and I don't know that I can't read it. I just artwork, And the French industry is just inspired I was surprised. I went to Mallorca actually years ago, and I into some comic. I didn't find an actual comic shop though. I'm never going. I'm gonna have to look at that. And you said it in the capital, yeah?
Sorry.
It's in the capital, Palma, isn't it?
Yeah, the capital. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't forget about to where, like near the train station, the coach station area. There's one, and then, oh god, I've forgotten all the geography completely now. I don't know how old they are either, so I don't know how long they've been there for.
Yeah, they might not be there anymore.
Yeah.
We've had a comment from Andrew. I love nipping into school when I'm traveling over. I think we all do that. Comics, where I go, every city I go to in the UK, even. It's like, is a shop here? Is it? I remember, I go to a lot of like sort of city breaks with my girlfriend, and that's probably why she's my girlfriend anymore. So I used to always drag her to the local comic shop. If there's a comic shop, we're going to look at any comic shop. She'd say, but it's just a comic fan thing. You do it, haven't you?
You get a nice feel of the city. You get some nice local comics. You get some zines or something like prints. Like that's the flavor of that place. Those artists and stuff.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, because every comic shop, and I would say this, every good comic shop will have a local indie section, supporting their local artists, and they should do anyway. And it's really nice to go in there and find those specific books, because you might not find anywhere else. That might be the only place you do. So I love that. And I love the fact that so many shops now do support indie. I mean, do you guys, obviously you've got your diamond distribution now, so that's great. But did you find, and have you found, that retailers in general have been supportive too?
Yeah, I mean, I was at Thought Bubble and I was chatting with the guy who heads up Traveling Man, and I don't think he was aware. I don't think initially he knew what I was talking about, because he was, oh, what comics do you do? And I was like, oh yeah, Killtopia. And loads of his staff at the table all turned around and went, oh, I've read that. It's in the shop. People love it. Like, we always recommend it to people in the shop. And I was like, sorry, what? That's crazy. So yeah, it seems to do well. I think as well. It's just, again, like the covers sell it. I think you get the big chunky font. It's very Akira looking. I think it just grabs the eye.
Great name too, Killtopia.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It is a really good name. Yeah.
It was
sorry, go on.
No, I was just saying, yeah, it was just crazy to hear that from this like comic book chain. I mean, Traveling Man's got a bit of prestige to it, doesn't it? It's quite well known now, so it's like, oh, this is nuts. This is crazy.
It's nice, isn't it? It's just nice to have that sort of respect from a retailer. Would your designer on the covers, who designed the logo and all that?
So Craig Payton did the logo, things like the internals, like all the sort of inside pages with all the design. That's Kirsty Hunter. I think she's a freelancer now, but she basically does all that stuff for BHP in house. So
right.
So yeah, but the logo came from Craig. And if anyone wants to know, the Japanese text underneath doesn't actually say Killtopia. It says Killer City. Because Killtopia doesn't translate one for one. It doesn't translate in Japanese. No. So Craig's brother lives in Japan, so he was our kind of in the early stages, he was like our consultant on all these cultural kind of things, because we didn't want to whitewash, we didn't want to offend, we didn't want to just do it half baked. We were like, we want to just do it respectfully, make sure everything's accurate and and all that. So he was good though, just telling us like what was working, what was accurate, what wasn't. There's an anecdote that I always tell, but it's in one scene in the script, I said that there's a police car, and like police cars in movies, it's got the red and blue lights. And Craig's brother Gary said, in Japan, police cars only have red lights, so you need to change that. And I was like, this is great. This is exactly what I wanted. Accuracy, So you find that even stuff like that is kind of, we paid close attention to it,
like that.
Respect.
In the movie, that wrong on purpose, don't they? Because I've heard comments from directors that, we Apple that example, they would say, yeah, I know that it's wrong, but American audiences like to see red and blue lights, so we changed it. Oh God, really?
Yeah, that's bad.
You know,
Yeah.
just really don't. I mean, that's what they want to do. It's their bloody film. But I really don't agree with that. I think it's like, why not just be accurate? Let the audience, let the audience decide for themselves. Don't down assuming that they're dumb. You know? What we got here, Andrew? We got another. Yeah, I have explained to a woman in Japan that Killtopia was when I had the T-shirt on. So did you always want it to be set in? Was that an early decision that you wanted it to be set in Japan?
That was. People have asked me that, like, why not set it in America or in the UK? Because the style of humor is very British, right? There's a lot of there's even jokes to things like Peep Show and Nathan Barley in there, like if you look close enough. But for me, that goes back to the game references. All those games that I mentioned that I love, Bayonetta, No More Heroes, they're all Japanese action games. So this, for me, it felt right that this was the setting because it's my kind of love letter to that kind of particular game. Predominantly, it's the games of like Capcom and Platinum Games, who are one of my favorite game developers, like Hideki Kamiya, Shinji Mikami. Fun fact, actually, Shinji, the main character in Killtopia, his full name is Shinji Kamiya. And it's a mashup of Shinji Mikami, who directed Resident Evil 4, and Hideki Kamiya, who directed Bayonetta. So it's kind of a mashup of those. So that kind of tells you the kind of zone that I'm kind of working in. But that's why it's Japan, basically, just a love letter to Japanese games.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I mean, the thing is, if you love something and it's got a real impact on you as a fan, you can't help but inject that into work, and it just come out. It's natural. So you, as well as comics, you also write prose, I understand, and you sort of toying with the idea of a novel at the moment. How are you getting on with that?
I literally only started it 2 weeks ago, but it's been something that's been kind of on the back burner for a while. So my first non-comic book that I wrote is coming out later this year. It's a coffee table book about side-scrolling beat-em-up games, which is very niche. But so games like Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, Final Fight.
Classics! Absolute classics!
It's literally a massive, like, 450-page... where I basically have played and reviewed every single game in the genre, literally every single one. And this is a chronological book of what they all are, with artwork, sprites, everything. I can't tell you about the publisher yet because we've not officially announced it, but it should be out some point this year. COVID's delayed it, but it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So then I thought, I want to do something that is just words. I want to do something else in that kind of realm. So the book I'm doing is a non-fiction book about video game movie adaptations. And similar to the beat-em-up book, it's chronological. So it starts with Super Mario Brothers in 93, all the way through to the new Mortal Kombat, which is coming out in April. And it's going to be the story behind them, how it happened, behind-the-scenes stuff, all that kind of thing. So, and it goes really deep. So like the Mario Brothers chapter, I'm working on that just now. There's a whole backstory to that movie about the birth of MTV and sort of music television type shows and early CGI, all that kind of stuff. And it all leads up to how Super Mario Brothers, the movie, got made. So I'm hoping that these are all really interesting stories no one's heard yet. So it goes back to my sort of games journalism roots. I'm doing a lot of investigation, digging through old archives and stuff like that. And it's cool.
A lot of people will enjoy reading that. I think there's a lot of nostalgia for those classic games, and and I've watched documentaries on sort of classic games and things like that, and they're always really interesting. The stories behind the people who make the games and things like that. So I think yes, it's a niche, but I think it's quite a big niche, to be honest. What's your opinion on? Sorry, what's your opinion on adaptations, from games into movies? Do you are there any that you have thought are any good?
Yeah, do you know? So as a disclaimer, I quite like B movies. Like when people say, "Oh, a movie's terrible," I like it, not ironically, not in an ironic way. I'm actually fascinated by it. Right. So something like The Room, right, which is everyone says it's the worst movie ever made. It's not. It definitely isn't. But it's the backstory to that movie is so fascinating that you obsess over every scene and every like mistake, and it's so inept. Like it's so
yeah, sorry.
What was that, man?
I was gonna say, yeah, it's like Tommy Wiseau tried to make a movie to make himself look really good, and accidentally put all of his insecurities for 90 minutes for everyone to see. It's beautiful.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I love the original Mortal Kombat. I think it's actually still, I think, the best video game movie ever made.
I love it. I watched it the other night because it's on Netflix at the moment, I think, or Prime, and I thought I haven't watched that since it came out. And I watched it, and it was glorious, absolutely glorious. I loved every second of it. But I love the game.
I'm looking over here, right, and I'm looking at a pile of DVDs that arrived through my letterbox this week, and I've got Alone in the Dark, which is 1% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. Far Cry, House of the Dead, Postal, Wing Commander, and I've got other ones coming as well. So I'm in for a world of hurt, but I can't wait.
Wow, that's incredible. You can have a good time there, man. What about you, Clark? Do you enjoy the adaptations?
Yeah, I'm also a huge B-movie fan.
Yeah.
Ask Leanne and Biana on the comments.
Oh yeah.
I've bored them to death through uni with all kinds of movies. But in terms of like video game adaptations, yeah, I also enjoy like the Super Mario Brothers movie is great. And not necessarily for all the wrong reasons. It is quite entertaining. None come to mind in terms of like other video game adaptations. I'm really more into like film, comic adaptations and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I understand. But yeah, I'll watch them all day. especially the old ones like 80s and 90s and noughties stuff. Like I'll watch Doom 2005 over and over again. I don't care. That's great.
Nice.
I quite enjoyed the first Resident Evil movie. Actually, I thought it was all right. Yeah, it wasn't anything special, but I did find it very watchable. You know, I think I can't remember her name now. The lead role,
Mila
Jovovich.
Yeah, that's it.
I think she's got a good screen presence. You know, I think she has actually really got that. You know, I'm surprised she's not a bigger star because I've seen her in a few other roles. You know, like more serious roles. She's actually quite a competent actress as well, which that was a bit of a surprise. You know, she can act, so I quite enjoyed that. So when you talk about comic adaptations, are you talking about the popular stuff or some of the sort of left field stuff? What sort of stuff do you enjoy?
Most of the popular stuff. Like, I mean, I grew up on like the like mid noughties stuff. You know, Spider-Man 2 is my favorite movie of all time. I started with Spider-Man. I wasn't allowed to watch X-Men when I was younger, and then I went to Blockbuster and got it anyway. And then everything from like Daredevil. When I found out they were making a Daredevil movie, I got super excited, and I loved it. And I remember seeing, I saw a trailer for the Fantastic Four movie with Jessica Alba. I was walking past the Currys and I saw it playing silently, the trailer, and I was like this super excited kid. And I went and I had all the DVDs of those growing up, and I would just like I would go back to like certain scenes and just play them over and over again, like when I was like 13, 14.
It's
and I got some good nostalgia with them. Yeah, and now you got YouTube. You just search whatever you want.
It's not the same
about how bad it is.
No. We don't appreciate things because they're too easy now, aren't they? You can pretty much watch whatever you want when you want. Back in the day, I mean, it was a lot more difficult. I mean, going back even further, you know, I remember when it cost like, you know, £75 to buy a video of a film. You know, wow. Yeah, £75 to buy the tape. Because you could only hire them. You couldn't buy them when I was a kid. You could only hire them. So, and Blockbusters didn't exist. There was just like these seedy video joints where, you know, you go in and there'd be some guy smoking behind the bar, you know, and what are you doing here, kid? You can't have those ones. You know? and I'd be looking through all the, you know, I don't know if you know the really badly animated Marvel cartoons. I'd be hunting for those, you know, like, you know, Captain America and Iron Man. It's just moving Kirby images, you know, with slight animation. That was my first sort of foray into video. But I remember my dad brought home Orca, which I don't know. It's a Richard Harris movie about. It's basically a take on. I suppose it's a sort of Moby Dick sort of modern version, but it's basically Richard Harris's character, you know, goes after this killer whale, and it's like a revenger, and it was not a kid's film. My old man brought it home, played it on the Betamax. You know, it's like I just sat there, and at the end, I was just like, I was disturbed. It's quite gory. It was a bit gory. I mean, I'd probably watch it now, and it'd be really tame, you know. But back then, I was quite heavy. Were there any films that you watched as kids that had that effect on you? That sort of like,
oh god. I watched like this on Channel 4. They would have those those like 50 best horror movies like lists, right? And they had there was one I watched when I was a kid, and they played like every single like horror moment from like from like 50 movies. So it just had like this wall of like, it was like watching what's that movie where it's just like a collection of horrible imagery. I saw like Evil Dead, Misery, like all these scenes. Like I've forgotten all the movies. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Exorcist, just in my face.
Oh wow!
You know, I think it's influenced so much of my stuff. Yeah.
What about you, Dave?
I can specifically, vividly remember too. So I used to stay at my mate's house all the time. My mate Richie from primary school, and I wasn't allowed to watch 18s, but he had an older brother, so of course we nicked his tapes when he wasn't around. And I remember watching Predator. And the bit when the skinned bodies fall out of the tree, I was just like that. Oh Jesus! I was just like that. Just I couldn't sleep that night. And then I remember vividly. I remember another time I was watching Candyman, and the same thing. Just couldn't sleep that night. And just lay awake looking at his ceiling, just like in a sleeping bag, like awful. Yeah. That was a pretty scary film at the time. I'll give you that. You don't be ashamed. They help to shape us as creative people. These moments, don't they?
That's the best kind of kid stuff. Is when they scare you. You know, you kids need to be scared. If there's as long as there's like a happy ending, just scare them in the middle.
That relief at the end when the good guy gets away, it sort of makes it all bearable, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I love that at the end of Jaws. At the end of Jaws, it's like really happy music. I don't know if you noticed that. I think especially Jaws 2, because I remember feeling really relieved when it ended. It's like, God, he's killed that fucking shark. Thank God. Was it ever going to die? And then they play this really happy music. Yeah, they play this really happy music. And I was like, oh, I can go to bed now without having a nightmare.
I felt that about Jaws 4, The Revenge. Thank God it's over.
Oh, my God.
Was that the one with Michael Caine?
Yeah. When the shark gets out of the water and roars.
Man, that was a bad movie. That was a bad movie.
Yep.
So we've reached the end of our hour, and it's been good fun, guys. I have to say, it's been really good chatting with you. Before we go, is there anything else you guys would like to plug of your work, or let people know where they can find your work online?
Yeah, just a reminder, I guess, that Killtopia 3 is coming out in May. That's to the Kickstarter backers and via BHP. So yeah, we'll be doing loads of plugs and stuff on social and all that. And also, yeah, if you want to get me on Twitter, it's just at Dave S. Cook. I'm always happy to chat comics or video games or whatever. So
great stuff. Thanks, Dave. Clark?
Yeah, I'm also on Twitter and Instagram at Clark Bint Art. Killtopia obviously is coming out. Back at Home on the Farm 2 is out now, and that was with me and Jordan Thomas, and me and Matt Hardy have Cyberarchy coming out the first part of this year through Heavy Metal. And it's like a short comic, robots in space kind of story, sci-fi. Cool. We got some like really beautiful kind of like panoramic things going on. So yeah, I'll post that as the more updates come.
I'm going to second that one because I've seen the artwork and it's stunning, man.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Oh wow.
Yeah, very proud of that one.
Yeah, you've got a new fan here of your art, Clark. Honestly,
cheers.
I'm glad I discovered your work. Absolutely brilliant. When Killtopia comes out, I'm gonna be getting it. And so anything else you're doing, send it my way, man, because I'm really interested. Anyone else out there?
I mean,
sorry, go on, Clark.
I was going to say, I do have. I'm reworking my Patreon. I had a Patreon, and I've put it on hold for a bit just to figure out what to do with it. So, yeah, stay in touch with me on social media, and I'll post more updates about that and get some nice little like goodies, stickers, prints, drawing, character design, stuff like that. So.
Great stuff. Cool. Well, thanks a lot, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you. I can't wait for Killtopia to come out. I'm just really, really looking forward to it. And anyone out there watching, make sure you back the Kickstarter when it starts, because this is going to be a great book. Thank you so much, guys. Have yourselves an absolutely brilliant evening.
Thanks so much, man. You too.
Having fun.
Bye-bye.